for mental toughness, and the mental toughness it takes to get up.
Yeah.
And then the guy who just did that to you is waiting on the other side of the ring to come and do it again.
And then he moves forward. He survives the initial barrage, and then he starts moving forward. Then he dings Deontay. And you see Deontay got rocked at one point in time, and he starts pushing him back. I'm like, oh, my God, he won the rest of the round. Like, he literally made it like a 9-9 round.
Yes.
Which is crazy.
I love that.
Yeah.
But I love the fortitude that it takes in that moment to compose first of all, the mental toughness to get up, and then the fortitude. All of these intangibles, like I'm a boxing guy, but it's all of these underlying things which makes me love the sport. You know, the composure that it takes. You know, it's just it's really unbelievable. That's why I love the sport so much.
Well, you're not a casual. Look at him. He's dancing.
It's great.
Like he thought it was. Now walk through, look at his face when he sees Tyson get up. Like they start counting him, and he's like, "This fight is fucking over." I don't know if they're going to show it here, but there's a look where you see Deontay's face. Like right there, he's like, "Oh shit, I don't believe this."
Let me start breathing differently. Let me start breathing differently because I got to go finish the job here. Yeah.
And then he gets up, and you know, Deontay, I'm sure, thought he was going to put him away. He puts everybody away.
Right.
But they're talking now about Deontay versus. I think they're talking about Andy Ruiz.
That's
and
a great
Deontay.
one too.
That's a great one. But they might be also talking about Deontay and Usyk because I think Usyk is open now. I just hope they put that fight together. Just figure it out, boys.
Yeah.
That's the fight.
Yeah.
The fight's Tyson Fury and Usyk. It's the undisputed World Heavyweight Championship. Deontay Wilder training as promoter cancels another Vegas date. Okay. So Andy Ruiz Jr. potentially is now canceled. See, that's the thing that boxing does. It drives me nuts. They set these fights up, they get your dick hard, and then they pull them away from you like fucking Lucy with this football.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But I think the thing is, like the Crawford-Spence date, it's like we're floating the date of June 17th. It's like, all right, because that gets everybody's hopes up for it. And then they go, well, now we got to negotiate. We got to come to the table. And it's like, how's that going to go? It didn't go well last time, and as a result, Terrence, I think, just got frustrated with the negotiations. It's like, I'm just going to fight somebody. You don't think I'll walk away. I'll go fight somebody else.
Is saying it's April Fool's because they reported on April 1st? Is that what they're saying?
I was trying to figure it out, too. But this is the best I could get, was that last he said is it's April Fool's.
Oh, yeah, what does that mean? So it announced April 22nd during Gervonta Davis. Oh, so it will be announced. So they're hoping it will be announced. If Crawford isn't playing around, it will disappoint many fans who want to see him fight Spence. Yeah, that's the big fight at welterweight. That's a big fight.
Right. But I think if they don't make the fight, then they have to fight they have to fight the number one contender then. There's Virgil Ortiz at 147. There's Boots Ennis, who's a guy out of Philly who's unreal.
Is amazing.
Okay, so you got to fight that. Why are the mandatories not being forced is my question.
I think it's just money. They're just trying to make the biggest fights possible.
Well, the problem is that you have these individual promoters and you have there's too many IBF, WBC, these sanctioning organizations, and it's like you have to force these fights. Yeah. You can't. I understand that ticket sales and all that stuff is important, but if you want to maintain your integrity as a sport, you have to force these fights.
Yeah,
Boots Ennis should not be sitting there as the number one contender for 5 years.
Right. Exactly. Good point. Yeah, and also the world needs to know how good Boots Ennis is.
Yes.
When you watch that guy fight, switch stances,
unbelievable.
He's such an artist in there. He's so exciting.
Yeah.
And hopefully people will catch on. But you do run the risk of like a guy like that not being recognized because he's in this sort of weird situation where other people are getting shots and he doesn't.
Right. But it's a weird situation because I think Teddy Atlas has said this on multiple occasions. It's structured badly. The sport is structured badly. Whereas like in UFC, it's Dana making the decisions.
Yeah.
And you need that. You need a guy at the top going, no, this is going to happen.
Yeah.
And if you don't want it to happen, or if a guy's having personal problems like John Jones or whatever that was, like, okay, I mean, you're still a legend and you will get the shot when you're ready to come back, but the show goes on. Tom Brady, gets hurt, rips his knee. Football doesn't stop.
Right. Yeah. There's a great advantage that the UFC has in being the promoter. And so it's the organization, it's the sanctioning body, and it's also the promoter.
Right.
But it does take away leverage from the fighters. Like, you can't say, I want 70-30. You can't say, like, the way that boxing is, there's too many promoters and there's too many world titles.
Right.
But the opposite is the UFC, where it's like, there's really only one title that means something. There's Bellator titles and ONE FC titles, but what everybody wants to be is the UFC champion of the world. That's what everybody wants to be. Everybody.
Right.
Nobody says, I'd rather be the Bellator champion. No disrespect to Bellator.
Yeah.
But the reality is that's not the same.
Right.
And the real reality is there's fighters in Bellator that are world championship UFC caliber fighters, and they might not ever get their due. And they might lose their competitive prime competing against other people in an organization where less people are going to watch, and maybe even more importantly, less people are going to respect.
Right.
You know, so it's.
But in boxing,
tricky.
you know, you can't fight once a year.
No.
You can't fight once every 18 months and expect me to still be interested in what you're doing.
Right.
Like, you have to fight more. You have to fight like three, to Canelo's credit, and 3-4 times a year.
Yeah.
I understand these camps are like 12 weeks now, and that's brutal. It's brutal, the preparation. But, you know, 3-4 times a year. I mean, if you're fighting every 2 years, it's like it holds up the division.
Yep.
And it's, you know, it's less competition.